As a society nowadays, everyone wants the biggest, the fastest, the baddest things out there. People have just gotten bored with old reliable. It's just not cool anymore. Which kind of hurts my feelings because I am both old and reliable. Because we're starting to see these tendencies trickle into fantasy football as well. Because people want those players whose point totals can go from 0 to holy crap, just like. So in today's show, we're going to try to find the most explosive running backs in fantasy football for the 2023 season. Heck, maybe even some of these guys you can draft on Underdog and try to beat me. And I'm serious, if you think you can beat me on Underdog, now is your time to do it. Go out and create a new Underdog fantasy account. Use the referral code Headliners and make that minimum $10 deposit. Once you do, we'll match your deposit all the way up to $100 if you so choose. Plus, I'm going to give you a free draft guide for 2023 that'll be updated all offseason until week 1 of the NFL season kicks off. Plus, you'll also be entered into a giveaway to win a signed piece of memorabilia from my office. There's actually draft links in the description of this video right now. First come, first serve. Come see if you can beat me in some best ball. But now let's talk about a few of the cheat codes that we're going to use to try to determine who these explosive running backs are going to be. We have a few important metrics to discuss in this video. It was in this show last year that we highlighted the likes of Miles Sanders, Tony Pollard, Ramondre Stevenson as guys that you needed to go after. I think that worked out pretty well. All 3 of them finished top 13 overall at the running back position. But who are those guys going to be in 2023? So here are the metrics that we're going to be looking at. Average defenders in the box, yards created per touch, breakaway run percentage. If you don't know what a breakaway run is, it's carries over 15 yards, and then stuffed runs that resulted in no gains of yardage. And we're looking at these metrics because we're trying to figure out which running backs in the NFL give us the greatest opportunity for that big play with some sort of frequency, because we want those big plays. They result in big fantasy points. We don't want to focus too much on running backs that are getting stopped behind the line of scrimmage, running with stacked boxes. We're trying to find those guys that have that opportunity to break the big one. Now, once again, like I've said in all my videos this week, I could have cherry-picked the running backs that I wanted to use. Just throw in a bunch of my guys, so no matter what, I'm going to get the answer right. No, that's still not how we're doing things. We're using over 40 running backs in this show today as well. Here are all the names on the screen. We're going to compare all these guys head to head in each one of these metrics, give them a score for each one, total it up at the end, and find out who are the most explosive running backs right now to target in 2023. Let's start off here with average defenders inside the box. As you can tell, I got the top 30 in this metric on the screen. Still haven't figured out how to put 40 names on one slide and still have it be able to be something that you can read, especially on a mobile device. So the top 30 here, average defenders in the box, and all of them are pretty freaking close, right? We don't want defenders in the box. The less amount of defenders in the box, the less amount of people that we have to worry about our running back avoiding on his way to positive yardage. We see the likes of Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift, Ramondre Stevenson, Christian McCaffrey, Travis Etienne, all these guys towards the top. And really the reason they're up there is because they're not really one-dimensional. They're very capable of catching passes out of the backfield, so stacking a box against them doesn't make much sense because they can beat their defender to the outside, get that reception, and get upfield with minimal defenders in their path. So you're not going to see those guys with stacked boxes. A little crazy to see the likes maybe of a Damian Harris, a Khalil Herbert. I mean, those guys are kind of known for running between the tackles, so stacking the boxes against them maybe makes a little bit more sense, but obviously they didn't have to. If we go over to the second column here, even the guys at the bottom, James Conner, Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara, heck, even Tyler Algier, Dalvin Cook, Najee Harris, all these guys facing on average 6.7 defenders in the box. And honestly, that's about the league average. And that's really because opposing defenses at times in every single game are going to stack a box to try to stuff a run on a rundown or get after the quarterback, whatever it may be. So all of these guys are basically average to above average that you're seeing right here on the screen. Obviously, the lower the number, the better. Let's move down to yards created per touch, right? And it has to be on a per touch basis, not just yards created, because if somebody last year had a lot more carries, a lot more opportunities than some of these other guys that we're talking about, it's really going to skew the numbers and make some of these guys look like they're non-existent when really they should be paid attention to. But when we're looking at yards created per touch, DeAndre Swift and Breece Hall at the top of this list, followed by Austin Eckler, Rashad Penny, always near the top of this list. This guy would be an elite running back if he could play more than 5 games a year. Ramondre Stevenson, Tony Pollard. You can tell this is an important metric because a lot of the guys that finished high last year are finishing high in this metric. This is definitely a good one to pay attention to. We see Khalil Herbert pop up again at 3.29 with Aaron Jones, Christian McCaffrey, Josh Jacobs at 3.14, James Conner at 3.1. He's not somebody a lot of people think about. The Arizona Cardinals suck, right? And they're getting even worse without DeAndre Hopkins. James Conner has the ability to make things happen on his own. And if that offensive line can even be close to average, James Conner isn't a bad fantasy asset, even though it's just not sexy, right? Alvin Kamara, Travis Etienne, Nick Chubb, all right there. Nick Chubb at 2.99, hovering at that 3-yard mark. 3 yards is what I really try to focus on if possible. When we look at the opposite side of the spectrum, we got Jonathan Taylor at 2.42, Donta Foreman at 2.43, Mostert at 2.45. Maybe a surprise that Jonathan Taylor is down there, but when we see the year that he had last year, it makes a lot of sense. All right, then we go down to breakaway run rate, which is super hard to say. I had to cut this video like 4 times because I kept saying breakaway run weight. Yeah, it's tough. Anyway, if you don't know what that is, this is the percentage of carries that resulted in 15 plus yards. The bigger play, right? We're trying to find those guys that can bust off the big one, if you know what I'm talking about. And James Cook at 12.1. 12.1% of his carries resulted in over 15 plus yards. That is huge. Breece Hall at 11.3. I hope, please let Breece Hall be 100% healthy. I know he has a long road ahead of him, but man, Breece Hall is finishing super high in a lot of metrics. I just hope he can stay healthy. It's not uncommon for guys coming back from torn ACLs like Breece Hall to deal with hamstring issues the following year. Hoping that is not the case. J.K. Dobbins, a name we've been talking about this offseason here as of late. Rashad Penny, 10.5. Anything over 10, these are the super elite guys, right? Even Tony Pollard. It seemed like last year, it was big play after big play after big play. At least that's what it felt like. 8.8% of his carries resulted in a run of over 15 yards, followed by DeAndre Swift, Nick Chubb, Kenneth Walker, Jeff Wilson, Travis Etienne, all these guys, the upper echelon of the running back position. When you look towards the bottom, Jonathan Taylor, once again, just can't seem to get out of that 30 hole. He just continues to be stuck there at 3.6. Compare that to James Cook, 3.6% compared to 12%. Just think, now obviously that number would not be sustainable for James Cook, probably not even Breece Hall or J.K. Dobbins or Rashad Penny for that matter, if they were able to play and get a full workload. I'm talking 250 plus carries. That number, I would think, would have to come down just a little bit, at least back down into the stratosphere, right? But then we have those guys at the bottom, Damian Harris, Derrick Henry, Dameon Pierce. Not really a lot of guys known for that big run, maybe aside from Derrick Henry every once in a while. So this is always a fun stat to look at, though. We're trying to find those guys with the big runs. All right, let's go to the stuffed run rate. What percent of their carries resulted in being stuffed at the line of scrimmage or behind? And Elijah Mitchell didn't have much problem. Who did have a lot of problems? Look at his teammate, which is weird, right? Christian McCaffrey at 18.9 finished 29th, and then Elijah Mitchell at 8.9. Now, obviously, Elijah Mitchell saw a lot less work than Christian McCaffrey, right? And obviously, when Christian McCaffrey is on the field, he is probably one of the defense's top options to pay attention to. So it makes a little bit more sense that they're trying to take him away, put more defenders on him to try to limit him, make the quarterbacks at those times, like a Brock Purdy, try to beat them, which he did down the field. So that's kind of interesting to see. J.K. Dobbins at 18.5. Can that offensive line in Baltimore really open up some holes for him this year? The likes of Austin Eckler at 17.6. Saquon Barkley at 17.3. Not horrible numbers for these guys. I would like to see it be a little bit less, being that we're paying some super high prices for a few of these guys. But overall, the average is going to be right around 15 or so. If we can stay under that, though, we have a better opportunity of positive yardage, and positive yardage equals what? You've been listening, class. It's fantasy points. So stuffed runs, always important to try to avoid those. So now I've gone through those metrics. I've assigned everybody a point total, 1 through 41, because there's 41 guys, and then I totaled it up at the end. And here are our top 20 finishers at the running back position. Number 1 is James Cook of the Buffalo Bills. Do we need to let James Cook? I mean, I think we kind of do, right? Are we going to get that opportunity? Because now his teammate also finished 10th overall in Damien Harris. So, I mean, these are two guys capable of being explosive in an offense, and now they're in the same backfield. We have Aaron Jones at number 2. Big surprise? No. He's really on this video almost every single year. A little surprising to see Khalil Herbert, right? I mean, he's not somebody that really is probably going to get much of a chance. They have in Chicago Roschon Johnson, who they just drafted. They brought in Donta Foreman as well. Ramondre Stevenson, no surprise. Austin Eckler, Breece Hall, Christian McCaffrey, Travis Etienne. These are the guys that we expect to be there. But now, some of these guys aren't even the leaders on their own team, right? We know about James Cook. We talked about him and Damien Harris kind of in a split as of right now. Khalil Herbert in a split. DeAndre Swift, of course, we all want him to be the guy in Philadelphia, but how much do we see Rashad Penny? How much do we see Kenneth Gainwell? We know Philadelphia in the past has really been difficult to commit to just one running back. Is DeAndre Swift going to be that guy to get 250 plus touches? If he is, points are coming in bunches. We know about Breece Hall coming off a major injury. Hard to say right now how concerned we are. It's still early in the offseason, but it's something we need to pay attention to. Elijah Mitchell behind Christian McCaffrey. We have Tyler Algier, who's going to lose a lot of work to Bijan Robinson now in Atlanta, but Tyler Algier being inside the top 20 here is huge. Definitely a handcuff to pay attention to in fantasy football. David Montgomery, he's going to be splitting with Jahmyr Gibbs in Detroit. Rashad Penny, we mentioned him with DeAndre Swift. So really, the guys I'm paying attention to are the guys in green, right? Aaron Jones, Ramondre Stevenson, Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey, Travis Etienne, Saquon Barkley, James Conner, Josh Jacobs, Isaiah Pacheco, Tony Pollard, Kenneth Walker. Now, obviously, a lot of these guys are pretty expensive on draft day. The cheapest options you're going to have are going to be the likes of Aaron Jones, Ramondre Stevenson, Travis Etienne, James Conner for sure. Maybe Josh Jacobs. His price is already starting to creep up pretty high, though. Isaiah Pacheco going later in drafts. Tony Pollard, still pretty expensive. Kenneth Walker's dropped all the way down to around the 3rd round now with the drafting of Zach Charbonnet. So we really don't worry too much about Kenneth Walker like we did a little bit earlier in the offseason when he was going 1st round overall. So definitely that discount, that's something we're paying attention to. But these are the guys that have the opportunity to bust off big points and maybe don't need the huge volume. And that's what we're looking for at the cheapest price. And there you have it, the cheat code to find those explosive running backs. Remember, it's really important to put together metrics that identify players that are grouped with players that we know already finished highly, right? If we put together a metric and it spits out a bunch of names and none of them are last year's top performers, we're not looking at the right things. We're trying to find the guys that have the same things in common with the guys who continually perform year in and year out. So no, this isn't a video where I'm saying, hey, yeah, you guys need to go draft Christian McCaffrey. More than likely, he's like running back 1 or 2 right now in fantasy football. You already know that, but we're trying to find the guys that are similar. Could an Isaiah Pacheco be that guy this year? Could a James Conner surprise a lot of people with no DeAndre Hopkins? Could Ramondre Stevenson go the hell off again? Those are the names that we're trying to identify, so that way when we're on the clock in our drafts here in 2023, after we get outside the first couple rounds, when decisions really need to be made, you already know of some names that you're looking at. So if you enjoy videos like this, do me a favor, hit the like button. Don't forget, I'm challenging you to some best ball tournaments here on Underdog Fantasy. Links down below in the description. Drafts are going to be starting right away. So make sure you get in on those as soon as possible. But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here for the day. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day and do your part to make the world a better place.